"Would you be willing to kill my stepfather?" a 7-year-old boy asked as he entered a biker bar clutching 7 wrinkled dollar bills. The entire establishment fell into complete silence. Richard, the president of the chapter, was the first to react. He lowered himself to meet the boy at eye level. "What do they call you, son?" "Tyler," the child said in a hushed voice. "Tyler, how did you come by these bruises?" "My stepfather hits me and my mother whenever he's been drinking, but this evening was particularly terrible." "Where is this stepfather of yours located?" Richard inquired, his tone turning dangerously soft. "The blue mobile home at the far end of Maple Road, roughly 2 miles away." Every member of the club was familiar with that trailer park. It was territory where methamphetamine dealers operated, where the sound of gunfire was routine, where even law enforcement officers traveled in pairs. Tank moved toward the exit. "Let's go deal with this immediately." "Hold on," Richard ordered. However, his next words surprised everyone present. "This child approached us requesting that we kill someone in exchange for $7. Richard rose to his feet gradually. "That indicates this boy is so utterly desperate that he traveled 2 miles through darkness to locate killers." The bikers shared grim glances among themselves. They all understood the implications. "Law enforcement won't intervene," Razor observed. "They rarely do in domestic violence situations until there's a fatality." "Then we address it according to our own methods," Snake proposed, producing his blade. Tyler's eyes widened simultaneously with terror and anticipation. Richard reached a decision that would alter everything. Contact document. Doc wasn't an actual physician. He was their associate who had previously worked as a paramedic before being apprehended for narcotic theft. He examined Tyler's wounds and his complexion turned ashen. "This child has fractured ribs," Doc declared. "Possibly internal hemorrhaging as well." The space erupted with profanity and hostile declarations. These seasoned outlaws were prepared for violence. Tyler's stepfather had effectively sealed his own fate. "Please rescue my mother," Tyler pleaded. He warned her he intends to murder her this evening. At that moment they detected the sound of sirens. Everyone became tense. Police presence spelled complications for individuals with criminal histories, but the sirens continued past them in the direction of Maple Road. Richard's mobile device began ringing. He took the call and his expression darkened. "There's been gunfire at the trailer park." Tyler dropped to the floor on his knees. "No, no, no, my mother." What transpired next contradicted every code the bandidos observed. "Everyone mobilizes immediately," Richard bellowed. 15 motorcycles roared into action in the lot outside. They violated every traffic regulation racing to that trailer park. Tyler rode alongside Richard, gripping tightly as they sped through the darkness. The trailer park was encircled by patrol vehicles and emergency medical units. The bikers arrived in coordinated formation, prepared for confrontation. Multiple officers moved their hands toward their firearms upon seeing the bandito insignias. This situation was about to escalate violently. "Sheriff, please click the subscribe button and show us your support." Johnson moved forward. "Richard, your presence here is inappropriate right now." "That boy's mother is inside there," Richard stated. "She's still living," the sheriff responded promptly. "Though her spouse is not." Tyler's stepfather was being transported into an ambulance while restrained in handcuffs, blood flowing from a gunshot injury. Tyler's mother was seated inside a patrol vehicle with her own visible injuries. This is what had transpired during Tyler's absence. The stepfather had consumed even more alcohol and assaulted Tyler's mother using a baseball bat. A neighboring resident, an elderly veteran of the Vietnam War, overheard the cries and approached carrying his firearm. He discharged his weapon into the stepfather's shoulder when the man refused to cease his attack on the woman. However, a more significant complication now existed. Child Protective Services personnel arrived and declared that Tyler must enter the foster care system without delay. His mother was also facing arrest because she had defended herself and punctured her husband with a kitchen blade. "Absolutely not," Tyler cried out. "Don't separate me from my mother." The social services worker extended her hand toward Tyler. Richard positioned himself as a barrier between them. "Step away," he snarled. "Sir, I will have you placed under arrest for obstruction," the social worker warned. "Make the attempt," Richard replied. 15 bikers created a protective barrier surrounding Tyler. The law enforcement officers were outnumbered, and this fact was evident to all. The atmosphere was charged with potential violence. Hands shifted toward weapons on each side. This was moments away from becoming a massacre. Sheriff Johnson faced a critical decision: apprehend 15 dangerous bikers and initiate a conflict or discover an alternative solution. "Everyone needs to settle down," the sheriff commanded. "Allow me to place some telephone calls." Richard's spouse appeared 10 minutes afterward. She was a well-regarded nurse at the community hospital without any criminal background. She was additionally qualified as a certified emergency foster guardian. "I will assume custody of Tyler for tonight," she stated. The social services worker showed reluctance. "That's significantly unconventional." "However, it's within legal parameters," Richard's wife responded. "Verify your own regulations." While they processed the documentation, Richard walked over to the Vietnam veteran who had fired upon Tyler's stepfather. "I appreciate you rescuing that woman," Richard expressed. The elderly veteran was trembling physically. "I was unable to allow him to kill her in that child's presence." "Do you require legal representation?" Richard inquired. "I lack the financial means," the veteran confessed. "You possess them now." Richard passed him a business card. "Inform him the bandidos are covering the costs." Tyler's mother was freed following her interrogation. She hadn't genuinely stabbed her husband, merely threatened him with a blade, but she had no destination and insufficient funds for even a motel accommodation. The bikers gathered $500 within 5 minutes, but Tyler's stepfather was obtaining release as well. His injury wasn't potentially fatal, and he was scheduled for release on bond the following morning. He had previously made threats to return and complete what he had initiated. The prosecuting attorney stated they lacked grounds to detain him longer without additional proof. That's the moment Tyler performed something remarkable. "I documented him," Tyler spoke softly. Everyone pivoted to observe the 7-year-old child. Tyler retrieved an outdated phone from his pocket. "My biological father provided me this device before his death and instructed me to record when troubling incidents occur." Within that device were 17 video recordings of his stepfather assaulting him and his mother. Timestamps extending back 6 months. Indisputable proof of child maltreatment and domestic violence. The prosecutor's eyes grew large. This alters the entire situation. Tyler's stepfather faced charges totaling 37 counts of abuse. Bond was established at $500,000. He would not be departing. However, the narrative was nowhere near concluded. The stepfather's siblings appeared the following day seeking retribution. 3 methamphetamine distributors armed with firearms who desired Tyler and his mother deceased for imprisoning their brother. They committed the error of arriving at the motel where Tyler and his mother were residing. 15 bikers were positioned in anticipation of their arrival. What occurred in that parking area became the stuff of legend. No firearms were discharged, but 3 methamphetamine dealers departed town that evening and never returned. Some claim they're interred in the desert. Others suggest they're enrolled in witness protection. Richard will exclusively state they determined to relocate for medical considerations. Tyler's stepfather accepted a negotiated sentence of 8 years imprisonment after his brothers vanished. He comprehended what consequences would follow if he ever approached Tyler or his mother again. The Vietnam veteran who rescued Tyler's mother received a commendation from the municipality. The bandidos financed his legal representation, and he was never prosecuted for any offense. Tyler and his mother relocated into a new apartment under the protection of the motorcycle club. Any individual who regarded them inappropriately received a visit from 15 bikers who clarified the circumstances explicitly. Tyler retained those $7, however. Years afterward, when Richard questioned him regarding this, Tyler articulated something meaningful. "Those $7 represented more than currency," Tyler elaborated. "They purchased me an army of protective angels who resembled demons." Richard preserved those $7 in a frame at the Iron Horse Bar. The bandidos continue to assemble at that establishment every Thursday evening. And if a child ever enters requesting assistance, they recall Tyler and the evening they elected to become heroes rather than murderers. Occasionally, the most dangerous individuals become the finest protectors because they comprehend violence and recognize precisely when to refrain from employing it. Tyler has reached adulthood now with children of his own. He continues to visit Richard weekly, not because he requires protection any longer, but because family isn't necessarily determined by blood. Sometimes family consists of 15 dangerous bikers who choose to rescue you rather than transforming into what you requested them to become. We're going to attack track to tact inspire potting. Please click the subscribe button and show us your support.